Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am the creator and host of this podcast. I'm also the founder of the Feely Human Collective at feelyhuman.co. This is episode 216 on postpartum depression with Isis Avalos-Perez. In this episode, Isis and I explore the disruption of identity that occurs in motherhood, how our disconnection from our bodies relates to diversity, inclusion, and equity work, and the heaviness and shame that's wrapped up in postpartum depression. Really enjoyed this conversation with Isis. Really enjoyed connecting with her. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Before we get to the show, though, I wanted to read something and reflect on something. So just a moment ago, I wrote something down and I posted it on Feely Human's Instagram page at Feely Human, and I wanted to read it because if you're like me, sensitive, big-hearted, deeply feely, deeply empathetic, you might be feeling a lot right now, and you might be feeling overwhelmed even. So this is a little note to you. You can't be all the things to all the people all the time. I see your softness, your sensitive heart, your deep wells of empathy. These are superpowers. They are the things that lift up and guide your activism, your community care, your curiosity. They are also the things that can burn us out, overwhelm us, and sometimes even render us immobile. We can devolve into people-pleasing, codependency, taking on all the feelings of all the hurt and pain and heartache. And then what? We have nothing left to give. We bypass our own care. We forget about our why. The needle stops moving. Our fellow Feely Humans, the most vulnerable among us, trans youth in Texas, black and brown Feely Humans, indigenous communities, families with kids under 5, disabled Feely Humans, immune-compromised Feely Humans, Asian Feely Humans facing a rise in anti-Asian violence, Jewish Feely Humans living in a world of neo-Nazis et al. They need our soft hearts. They need you. How can we be more intentional and useful in our collective care and passion and love? How can we keep moving the needle without destroying ourselves in the process? How can we occupy both spaces of discomfort and grace, messy and self-aware, forward and nonlinear? I'm not a therapist. I'm a feely boy who feels all of this so deeply and someone who is often overwhelmed. Ever yearning to make an impact and also aware that my own yearning needs scrutiny, always. Feely Human is me, a little business I started in May of 2020. I don't have much to give financially, but I wanted to offer today is this reflection for all of you, for all of us, and to also say that for today and tomorrow, so today as I'm recording this, Sunday, February 27th, and today, as you're listening to this, February 28th, any purchase from the Feely Human shop at feelyhuman.co, all of the earnings will be donated, split equally between Equality Texas and Insight NGO, both organizations doing wonderful work to create spaces, safe spaces for LGBTQ plus Texans and teens. And Insight NGO is doing wonderful work in giving space, safe space and protection and care for queer and trans and LGBTQ plus folks in the Ukraine. So that's my little note to you about that. It's something I'm feeling a lot right now. Your feelings matter. And they also can be too much sometimes. Sometimes we take on the feelings of others, as I mentioned. Let's keep moving that needle, keep checking in on your why, and let's do some good work. Anyways, I appreciate you. I care about you. I love you, Feely Human. I'm grateful that you're listening to this podcast. I'm grateful for you being in the Feely Human Collective and in the community. Follow the podcast on Instagram at YouMeEmpathy. Follow Feely Human on Instagram at Feely Human. Learn more about some of the stuff we're doing at the Feely Human Collective at feelyhuman.co. I guess the next thing we're doing is a Feely Hikes in March. Time and place TBD, but I will share more about that soon. And also my Dear Childhood Me journal is coming soon. I hope in March. My hope is March. I'm making progress. So anyways, that's it. Let's get into the episode. This is episode 216, Postpartum Depression with Isis Avalos-Perez. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, my heart is moved to be here with multidisciplinary movement artist, diversity, equity, and inclusion educator, and big-hearted activist, Isis Avalos-Perez. Hello, Isis.
Hi, no, thank you for having me. I feel, just very grateful to be in this space and be sharing in the space with you. So thank you.
So wonderful to have you, Isis. And let's kick off the show, as we always do, with an emotional check-in. How are you feeling?
Well, it's the new year. So I think I'm just kind of clearing through my mind. I just came back from Mexico, so I'm visiting my parents. So I think I'm still kind of coming back into my routine. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very hopeful for this new year. Curious. And, vulnerable and happy.
I love that. What do you think you're curious about? Like, where's that coming from?
I think I'm trying to get to know myself in different ways that I don't know myself yet. I think what truly I still consider myself a new mom. I have a 2.5-year-old, and I think my daughter has brought out a lot of stuff in me that I was like, oh, I never dealt with that. And now it's raw and it's out, and I'm kind of getting to know myself in those ways. And it's scary. It's vulnerable, but I'm also curious to see who I kind of, transform into, transition into, kind of peel those layers that I have. So I'm really curious to see myself a year from now. I think that's where I'm at, especially because it's the beginning of the year. So I'm navigating those waves. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's so wonderful and beautiful. And what a a gift it is to like be open to that experience, because as you know, we all have experienced resistance to that sort of change that can happen within us, within our communities, etc. That feels scary and vulnerable, and also crucial, right? Also crucial to ourselves, crucial to our sort of collective identities and healing, and what a reminder of like how humans, including little children, could be mirrors for us, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because, I get to do, DEI work. I'm very grateful I get to do that. And I've spent many years working through that. And then I had my daughter, and it was like more like what I spent doing, trying to facilitate getting others to kind of see and have a new lens is what my 2.5-year-old is doing with me on a very, very, very personal level. And it's actually tracking back to like, just, family lineage, and I guess I don't want to call them chains, but just ties that I'm like, oh, I need to undo that. Oh, I need to work to undo that. So yeah, it's like, it's beautiful because this is helping me also show up a different way in the work that I also do. So it's a challenge, but I'm very grateful for it. Yeah,
it's all connected, right?
It really is. It really is.
Are you open to sharing maybe a thing or two that you're reflecting on in that sort of what's coming up for you as a mom?
Yeah, well, I knew about postpartum depression, but I didn't realize how hard it was going to hit me, and it hit me pretty hard. And funny enough is that as I was trying to look for a therapist, I was given this, and I have health insurance and everything. I was given the resources to look for a therapist, and no one was like licensed under postpartum. And actually there is no actual specific, like, I guess study or licensing for just postpartum depression therapists. So, I've been looking to family therapist, PTSD therapist, because that's where we're at right now, I think, as a society, acknowledging this, I guess, depression that really does happen. It actually goes way past 6 months. I'm at 2.5 years and I'm still navigating it. But that's one part that came up, right? Like trying to deal with that. I had never dealt with depression in my life. Although now I realize I'm like, have I always been depressed and I never acknowledged it, because I don't know, it just kind of like it all just came out.
Yeah.
And, but there are, I think the main thing has been identity. I think, my transition into having been myself, me, ECs, I danced professionally, up until I had Luna, my daughter, and also was doing social justice work through art and then facilitating. And so I was, I kind of had the ball rolling and I had my things going on, and I had her at 32. So I had like 32 years of just me, and then that all switched. And so, yeah, I kind of was dealing with my identity, like, my daughter, it's a full-time responsibility, job, but truly it's like, I love her. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like a job, but it's truly like your life is just flipped, it just becomes, your way of life. And so I think a lot of it was really talking to my own ego and realizing like, oh, wow, like I'm having such a hard time with this transition. And I think, and one of my thoughts is that because of, is my having such a hard time transitioning my identity because I have like such a huge ego, like, because is my ego so has been such a part of my life and my identity that now it's trying to like shift and so I'm trying to let go of those parts of me that like created my identity. or is it, I don't know, or is it a mixture of my, then I start to think about sociopolitically, right? I start to think about the fact that we don't have parental care leave, the fact that, we don't have a community-based culture in this country where it's very individualistic and not collective way of nurturing, of mothering the mother, all these things. Also throw in that, my mom can't come into the US. So I didn't have like that kind of support that I wish I could have had. I know that there are some new moms that are like, I don't want my mom around, and that works out fine. But so anyway, so then I start to like think of all these things. But so anyway, so my identity navigating that has shown up in ways that sometimes I want to do my thing, and then I get angry that I can't because I have to stop and, care for my daughter in the most like in the smallest ways that just, every day. But then I'm like, oh, I'm being a little kid. And I'm kind of like now having this tug of war with another little kid, like, and so I'm being a little girl with a little girl. And then I kind of like step back and I'm like, wow, okay, ECs, at this point, at 35, I'm at 35 now. I should, why am I having, then the shame starts, right? Why am I having such a hard time caring for my daughter?
You should be over this. I should be this or whatever, right? Yeah.
Right. I'm 35. Why am I acting like a little girl with my own little girl? Like, and these things, and then that shame like wraps me up, makes me cry, makes me fall into, is this still my postpartum depression? And then makes me fall into like, I'm going to isolate and not like let people know that I'm going through this, So I used to talk about it more openly with my postpartum depression, but there's mom guilt is one thing I think we personally feel, but I think also societally, like there is such a pressure to come out as like a very caring and loving mom, and which I know I am. And I am also the mom that struggles like a lot.
Moms have to be superheroes. They have to have full-time jobs. They have to do everything, right? That's the societal lens.
Exactly.
What is like important and what is sort of really... So as of this recording today, I'm 1 year sober from alcohol.
Oh, congratulations today.
Thanks.
Oh,
today.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I bring that up not to sort of conflate my own ego, but to say that I had this conversation with my friend Emily, who she'll come up later.
Yeah.
Where she interviewed me about that experience, my sort of sobriety, and what she said to me, and I'm going to give it back to you, is, Known, you've had 30 plus years, I'm 40, you've had 30 plus years of an identity that is rooted in alcohol. That's what you've known, right? So so I'm going to say to you, ECs, give yourself grace and kindness and space and softness and curiosity to say like, look, I've had 30 years of not being a mom. It's going to take time. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be vulnerable. And the anger and the frustration is valid and understandable, right? Because you've been at it for 2.5 years. That's not very long.
No. And, that's, yes, now that you put it that way, it makes sense. I talk about that way in the postpartum body. Like I am 30 pounds over what I used to be like for a very, like pretty much, for a very long time. And then I've learned to give myself grace because I'm like, wait, it took like 10 months to transform my body, right? To then give birth. And then the whole bouncing back, or like the baby comes out and you're like, super skinny or whatever. And then societally that is so praised, right? Yep. Like, oh my God, she looks amazing. She just had a baby, or she has 3 kids, or whatever it is, And so, it's really interesting because I think I've attached that way of thinking, for my body, because that's also something else I'm navigating with a new body, right? Like a new body as a mom. But truly it is that I've been, I don't know, I've been a mom for only 2.5 years. And sometimes it looks so natural to other moms. And then that whole comparing myself to other moms starts to happen. And it's, but
the assumptions we make of others, right?
Yes. And
which
then
leads
of course,
to all the shame and
shame, guilt, all of that. Yeah. I think thank you for sharing that, because it's very true. I think we need to normalize that. I maybe in mom culture too, like I think, we've been ourselves for decades, and then we transition into being completely different.
Well, there's another piece of it that I think has come up on this show before, which is like, there is a little bit of like preference toward the mother who is pregnant. Like pre-birth, there's a lot of like value and attention and care, and then it's like, get the fuck out of my hospital. Get you use the word skinny. Get skinny and get white and get whatever it may be, right? Like it's like So there's like this attention on the pre, and the after is like, all right, get back into work. And, you mentioned parental care and stuff, which is atrocious here in the States. So there's that lens as well that's important.
Yeah, I think, well, it's funny because one of the cold hard like experiences I had, it's very small, but I now tell my friends, I'm like, no one prepares you for the moment they like kind of send you off from the hospital and you're just carrying a little tiny human being, and you're like, that's it. That was it. Okay. So what do I do when I get in the car and there's a car seat and I don't know how to put the baby in the car seat?
Yeah.
And so it's this like extremely vulnerable moment. I think literally from the steps to the hospital door into the car, it's like you pass around. Like I feel like, it's funny. I celebrate Dia de los Muertos, and it's part of my, spiritual way of also navigating life. But I really, truly felt like that passage, that walk was what really kind of set me off into the next, walk of this new life that I have. But yeah, I think
it's like you're being born again too.
Totally vulnerable and scared and so many things. And, at 2.5, I'm still navigating all those emotions,
and will continue to.
Oh, I don't think it's going to stop. And moms tell me that. They were like, oh, this is never going to stop. I'm like,
I mean, it's another, like, we don't have kids. Many of our friends do. But, having kids or having an experience, it's another, they're not tools, but it's another like experience in which we can use that experience to like, okay, how can this reflect upon myself? How can sort of this experience sort of deepen my connection to my community? Like all this stuff, like it's another opportunity to use the word curiosity up top. It's another opportunity for curiosity, right?
Yep.
And reflection and the stuff that we all need to be doing in all contexts all the time. But we don't because, it's scary or it's anxious or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very much that. Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned dance. You're a performer, you're a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been sort of post having a kid, and what does that look like? Has that been hard? What has that been like?
Well, one ways that I keep up with just myself personally, I stretch every day. I still do that. That's very something that I've kept in my transition. And I actually still, I came back after birthing Luna. I came back actually almost a year. I thought I was going to come back earlier, like bounce back. But it
Sure.
truly took me a year to then truly feel like, okay, I can go back on tour now and like, perform again. So I did, I went back, and I did one tour and I toured, I took her with me. I had a friend of mine that came with me to care for her. It was really sweet because, we went to ASU, Arizona State University, to perform, and you never know if they're going to be friendly, baby friendly venues. And when I got to the venue, there was a dressing room that said baby on it. It was so sweet because, I had my own dressing room, but my daughter had a dressing room, which was really sweet. And I was able to travel in that way. And I was kind of getting my bearings straight and going. And then COVID hit. So I kind of, obviously it hit the dance world really hard, the arts world. I mean,
right,
Broadway, you mentioned it,
Yeah.
it was very hard. But then things started picking up. One of the things that truly made me realize is like my community, my own dance community, like we lifted each other up. And I think we stayed connected and found ways to kind of create art again. One of the things that I just recently did that was kind of my like, oh, I'm coming back, or I'm back sort of transition was friends of mine. They run a nonprofit organization, and they were given they got a grant from the LA Department of Cultural Affairs, and then they invited me to be their artist in residence for the fall, just this fall that just passed. And they were just so awesome. They're friends and colleagues of mine, and they were just like, we believe in you. Here's this money and do what you want with it. And I was like, what? And there obviously has to be community based and, and within a certain section of LA, city of LA. So anyway, I created an event, and I finished it in November, and it was just so nice to have that sort of, I don't know, that maybe that appreciation of my own community saying like, hey, we see you, we think you're great, we're investing in you, literally, monetarily also, like here's do whatever you want. And it was cool to also see the community come through. It was like, a live performance. We were all wearing masks, but I was able to perform again. I was also able to create an installation. I was just kind of using my multiple different hats as an artist, and my husband and my daughter came, and it was just so nice to see myself sort of doing what I know to do. In that context with my family now. And so that was a beautiful experience. Then I left to Mexico, and now I'm back. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can continue to make artwork, make truly work, more looking at the body inwardly as far as like somatic wise, how we store memory in our body, emotional, familial, just sort of recognizing that so much of how we navigate, and how our body navigates and our body feels has to do with memory from generations past that has been transferred through us in the womb. In the same way that I transferred my own traumas to my daughter through my womb, and, and da-da-da-da. But in that way, we have also developed tools within ourselves and our body that our body actually knows how to handle those traumas. So in the way that we transfer trauma, we also transfer ways to kind of help heal ourselves. So I'm really interested in navigating that through the body. I don't know if it's creating choreography through that, but I just kind of have created my own way of like creating my stretches, breath work, and then moving. So maybe, I don't know, hopefully this year, teaching, I would love to teach maybe, like a one-time class kind of to test it out and then see where that takes me, but also incorporate that in what I have been doing is incorporating that in like DEI facilitating work. I think so much of, obviously, the topics, the content is very heavy, and it's also, I think it also ties in ancestral healing. And I think the one way that we can truly authentically tap into that is with our bodies, because our bodies have known and been here, longer than we have. So I'm also curious to see how I can start to incorporate that with our bodies and that DEI work. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as like what I was doing dancing professionally, but now I'm kind of truly integrating it more with like movement and somatic and healing work.
Yeah.
So
I love that. You don't know this about me, but I am in the process of doing EMDR therapy. And one of the things that I am trying to work on is like being more connected to my body. I have sort of just a long history of disconnecting from it, through eating disordered past, childhood trauma, like self-harm, all that stuff. And sort of, I can talk about feelings in my head, but like can never describe what they feel like in my body. So one of my goals for this year, 2022, is to take up some dance lessons to try to be more in my body and more sort of somatic and connected in that way. So very aligned in that way. I'm grateful to hear that you're, loving and doing that work too.
Yeah. When I was in college, I kept thinking like, why isn't every human doing this? This is so helpful and necessary. I was in a class called Stress Reduction Through Movement. And we were doing like learning about various techniques to reduce stress through movement, like Tai Chi, Qigong, Alexander technique, just different techniques. And obviously, as dancers, we invest our whole lives working through our body, but it just felt like such a holistic way of looking at life. I would walk out of the studio thinking like, I feel better, like as a human being, Yeah. And it was only because I was breathing and I could feel, like I could sense every single part of me, like, or my bones falling into the ground, because it caused your muscles to release. And that sort of sensation, it just kind of like, I don't know, it shifts your way of seeing life, seeing every day. So truly that has been, if I bring it back to the whole postpartum depression, that has been something that has really helped me get through this phase. Applying those techniques that I learned in college, or that, I kept developing to get back into my body, has really helped me through that. So
I love that. Well, and it makes sense, right? Like we were talking about before, sort of the cultural, societal lens of women and motherhood and like the body, right? And how sort of postpartum, the body needs to be this thing, needs to be this whatever thing. And that's a just denial of body. That's like a bypassing of reality and what our bodies are, right? And actually looking at them honestly and compassionately. So it makes sense that movement is a way to do that honestly, in the face of that sort of bypassing that we do culturally. So I think it's beautiful. I would love to, I'm just thinking this on the fly, but I would love to somehow with my little tiny, just me company, Feely Human, do like facilitate some in-person like dance thing this year at some point, like maybe in LA area. That would be great. I would love to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. That'd be so great. I'd be down to join and to like move and just, breathe through things. And it's truly just even the act of saying, for this hour of my day, I'm like dedicating it to my body, which is such a radical thought, but truly it should have always been that, it should have always been a dedication to our body from the minute we wake up, but we're so detached from our relationship to our bodies that we have to make it a thing, like we're going to do it. So I think it's important that we start in this way of seeing how we can get back to our bodies. You brought up something that I have been thinking about since I gave birth to, that then connected it to the DEI work that I do. But truly, historically, the body has always been depreciated. Like, I mean, it just the way that we have enslaved human beings, the way we have, captured their bodies, tossed their bodies away through history. And then you look at the woman body, I'm not going to get into details at all, but I'll just say that the act of birthing itself and now realizing, the threshold or like just the pain that you feel and what your body goes through. And I'm like, how are people not realizing what a huge act of life that is like? And we don't even see it that way. We expect moms to just bounce back after, like, that's a major surgery that happened. Yeah. That's like, and it truly does feel like you got hit by a train in a way. And so, but, that depreciation of what the body is capable to do to even bring in a human, if we're not even able to appreciate and value what the body itself can do when it brings in a human into earth, then then we're really truly screwing ourselves over in a way. And I'm not saying like, it all goes back to just focusing on mother's birthing, which I think one of the roots is that, but I do think we have developed just, where we are now society, just such a detachment to the body, because I think if we start to connect back to our bodies, we'll start to connect and tap into that vulnerability within ourselves. And I think that's hard for us to do. And so, I think dance has always been also such a beautiful tool to kind of just even tap into that and get to know yourself in a different, way through your body that doesn't have to be deep or anything, but that you can just feel yourself moving, It's such an empowering act when you start to connect to your body self, so to feel so empowered by that.
Tell me a little bit about the type of dance you do and sort of, and maybe even like, do you sort of approach it from the lens of a specific culture or a specific, like intention, et cetera?
Yeah. So it's hard. It's funny. I don't want to start with like the degree I have, because I'm like trying to not, give so much importance to that. But my first introduction to dance was social dance and my culture dance, which was cumbia, tejano, norteño, which is very popular in South Texas. If I say Selena, I think that'll be like a really quick reference, to just kind of get it in a fast way. But I grew up in South Texas, so that was kind of like my culture. Also, my roots are back in Mexico, in the state of Nayarit. So banda is like a huge, like just banda music, banda dancing it's always been something I grew up with. It's a regional Mexican music. But then I grew up dancing in the studio, jazz, flamenco, folklorico, hip hop, all of that. In college, that's where I learned about modern and postmodern dance, contemporary, and floor release. Modern release is basically what I got my degree in, modern release dance. And then I moved to LA, and I had always carried street and social dance forms with me because that was something I just always gravitated to. And when I came here to LA, I dove into house, which now is like so much of what what I love, because I think house just brings in all the forms that I truly love. And then the company that I danced with, it was heavily rooted in Afro-Cuban dance. Okay. And I'm not Afro-Cuban, I'm Mexican. But through that, I learned, Afro-Brazilian dance, Haitian dance. I was kind of opened up into that world of Afro-Latino Latin dance. And then in learning those type of dances, then I started to connect to my relationship to African descendant folks of Latin origin as well.
Okay.
And I started to then think of like, what is my relationship to not realizing that like cumbia is just something that I've been doing my whole life. It's actually originally comes from enslaved African people living in Colombia. And that was something that was never shared, because in Latin culture, we don't really, talk about a lot of like the roots of slavery that we have and the history that we have in Latin culture. So anyway, I kept diving into Afro-Latin dance, and it came to me like it's something that I gravitate to. The drum, the clave, which is the
yeah.
And that is like the key to salsa, to basically like any rhythm, Latin rhythm. So I think now I blend those forms into kind of like what I come from, which is also my Mexican roots, and heavily influenced by modern release, and then the Afro-Latin roots. And so, but truly a lot of learning about the Afro-Latin roots of dance was truly what propelled me into digging into my own anti-Blackness, anti-indigeneity within myself that I had to recognize, and also within my Mexican culture and then Latino culture. So that's how it also tied into my diversity, equity, and inclusion work that I've been doing. So yeah, I will forever be a student in these forms, but I've also learned to connect myself ancestrally. Afro-Latin dance forms are truly like, it's hard to make them secular from, the spiritualism that they carry from the Yoruba tradition, that truly survived the transatlantic slave trade. And so, I've when I used to teach workshops that included Afro-Latin dance movement, I always say it, I actually went to I went back to my alma mater, University of North Texas, and I taught a workshop that truly was more like my own workshop, trying to figure out where I navigate in those lines of, I'm not, I don't know if I'm of African descent through my Latin roots or anything, but I don't present myself in that way. I just identify as indigenous and Spanish and mestizo. But when I teach it, because those forms influence me, or what I know, I truly, in a way, I make sure that I say out loud, this form, these steps are rooted in African descendants brought over by the transatlantic slave trade that landed in Latin America. And because of that, now I'm teaching you as a Latina woman, these forms. So it's my way to honor, that I've been granted a gift in a sense to have learned these forms.
Yeah.
And in some ways, teach them, but by also recognizing, the history that they have in them. But anyway, all that to say is that I blend all those things. House, modern release, Afro-Latin dance. Those are my main things.
It's beautiful. I love that, an art form like dance could be a window into history if we allow it to be, right? If we're open enough for it to be, right? and this window into privilege and to intersectionality and to sort of our own trappings and our own attachments and stuff. Like, this is the work, right, of being human, is to like bring in that awareness always and forever, right? And doing it through an art form like dance is, I think it's just so beautiful, and it makes me excited about my sort of future quote unquote dance journey for myself, you know.
Do it. I am so excited for you. I think it's going to tap into, at least, you know, what happened to me. It just tapped into my own personal life. It just kind of brought it all together, and it made me become so much more aware of like, oh, this is why my body feels right doing this. And then I think as you navigate different forms and styles of movement, I think you'll get to learn about your body and how it feels good when it does certain, you know,
yeah,
moves.
I hope so. Yeah. And I love that dance, I said it, but like more specifically, dance in a way is connected now to the DEI work you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so much of that I'm finding, in my day job space that I'm sort of facing day in and day out, is like this, just coming up against the atrocities of capitalism and what that means for us, right? And what that has meant for us, right? And so I'm curious about you and sort of your art. You're an artist, you're a dancer, you're in this beautiful space of sort of honoring the past and reflecting on sort of the beauty in the way that you can. How do you sort of operate in that space and also operate in the space of commercialism, capitalism? Like, you're also because I struggle with this. I'm sort of I teach people about empathy and what that means, and like, not as a checkbox, right? As this ongoing hard thing that we have to face as humans. And I want to like help Feely Human be a thing that I can quit my day job and like make money, but like money sucks. And like, how do you navigate some of those feelings?
Yeah. It's so
tough.
hard. Yeah, it's so tough because it's infiltrated. Capitalism is just filtered in everything, that where we are, where we live, what we do. I mean, unless I go off and live in a forest and dance by myself, I think that would be the most, I guess, authentic anti-capitalistic.
Let's do that. Let's make a plan.
Let's do that, right? Live out in an encampment, just dancing every day. But, the reality, I went through different stages. Truly, I was like, at one stage, was like, super anti-capitalist, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm going to teach this dance class and I'm going to get paid because that's what that's what I'm doing. That's what I can do. And
that's your value.
That is. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I can't truly walk that walk or say that I am, because I'm still doing the act of,
Yeah.
So now I'm really, I'm still trying to navigate that. I mean, there have been gigs that I've done that, have been super commercial and capitalist and commercial and all of that. And then I'm like, but it pays so good. That's so great. And it's helping me, do the other stuff that I do want to do as far as dance, so it's like kind of like it's really interesting. I've been able to do, I guess, focus more on the work that I do, invest in like workshops or like, trainings and things like that, by like doing some sort of commercial work, to then do what I get to do. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's hard to navigate it. I think, I've seen that a lot, actually. Well, here's one little, I guess maybe one little way I've learned to navigate this. I used to work for Lululemon for 7 years, and capitalist company, definitely has its own history of messing up and still learning. And, you know, and I give it to Lululemon that they really, truly, you know, try. They authentically try to, you know, admit their faults and then keep going and see how they can do better the next time. I say this because while I was doing the diversity, equity, and inclusion, or while I was touring with this company doing social justice activism work through dance, I was working at Lululemon. And so I had amazing managers who knew I would be gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And I would have a job to come back to every single time, you know? And I did that for 6 years with the company. I mean, I don't know how I was able to pull that off, especially with a corporate company like that.
Yeah.
To go off and come back, go off and come back. I'd come back and be a new team, you know, or they'd be like, oh, where are you off to now? You know, but it was because people believed in me and in the work that I was doing. And so they were like, cool, go off and do that. Send the message, come back, fold pants, and you get paid, you know, extremely expensive pair of yoga pants, you know, and I had to navigate that, you know, I'd be traveling, talking about, you know, not sticking it to the man or whatever, but I was like, in a sense, like talking about decolonizing work or like, you know, talking about capitalism and you know, tied into systemic racism and all those things. And, you know, I was also coming back to work for a company that also was helping me pay my bills because unfortunately, as a dancer, even though I was working professionally, I still wasn't making enough to support myself, you know? So it's been a hard, you know, I don't know, just journey to navigate the in and outs of that. But I'm thankful for both, for, you know, truly I still remain with a thankful heart that I'm able to do both things. But it's very hard. I see it right now hit me hard, mainly with Day of the Dead. I think this year truly was like, you know, just, I saw a Day of the Dead little makeshift altar that you can do it that comes in a box. Like you can make an altar from a box, and it was on clearance at a major corporate capitalist company that I love to shop at. Like they sell crafts and stuff, but it was on clearance, and it was like Day of the Dead. And it just kind of like broke my heart because, you know, something, especially when you learn the history and the traditions and the oral traditions and the spiritualism behind it, and then you see it in a box on clearance at a corporate company, it just, you know,
it's heavy.
It's hard. It's hard. But then it's like, then I start to think, okay, well, what if I start teaching, you know, about Day of the Dead, or start doing my own events about Day of the Dead?
Yeah.
But then am I capitalizing on that too? You know, like I then start to capitalize on my own, wanting to, you know, decapitalize from that. So yeah, I don't know.
It's messy, and it's like healing. It's nonlinear. And I think it's a bit of like a couple steps back, a couple steps forward, you know, always, because of the space we're in. And I think what I have to remind myself, and I've mentioned this on the show, is like, I can get like too like utopian, you know, in my thinking, and then like want to just say like I make rash decisions because I'm like, fuck it, let's burn it down.
You burn it all down. Yeah, that's how I get to
and, you know, and I know that probably is not useful, and maybe even not as empathetic as it should be, right? Like I'm not considering like how that might impact someone over here that I haven't thought of yet, right? So it's a mind game, and I think I have to remind myself that it is kind of messy, and a couple steps here, a couple steps there, moments at a time, one person at a time, whatever we can tell ourselves to keep momentum, keep that movement, keep that sort of needle moving, and with the hope that things do start to unravel and detangle and dismantle, you know.
Yeah.
But it does take all of us in our own ways, right? Internally and externally.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what you're saying is, I think for me, what's coming up for me is like the right or wrong. What is the right way? What is the wrong way? And I think that has also to do with like my own ego attached to it, what I think is right. And then, you know, there you lose the lack of empathy of like, well, maybe what you thought was right is not right for other people. And so, so then you start to realize like, oh, this is going to take a lot longer than, you know, because it's not, and it's not even, I don't know if it's even trying to get to the right way of doing things, because I don't even believe that there is one right way of doing things. Yeah. And so it's just having to just continuously navigate that linear path. That gets us to see each other and not just what we think is the right way.
Yeah, that binary lens.
Yeah.
And that binary lens is rooted in capitalism.
Yes.
Like it's rooted in that narrow frame of thinking that wants to position us in either we're on the path, we're doing it right, or we're not enough, or we're less than.
Downwards, right? We're not. Yeah. It's really, and you know, it's funny because even with dance, I've seen that physicalize itself in the way that I've learned movement, like the way that I play with gravity or with momentum, with release, with tension, with breath, like all those are elements of also life that come up, you know? Yeah. And then when you physicalize them, you start to understand like, oh, I really cannot move this way if I'm pulling this way, you know, like, so you have to let go so that you can, you know, propel forward. And so it's like all of the ways that I've been able to, or, you know, or the way that we get to move, are reflective of how we view society. Truly, one of the main things for me was like, I have to let go. I mean, and truly, when I let go in my body, when I let go of like that tension in my muscles, it's like you start to kind of like embrace this new air, literally, because you're moving through air, and you're embracing like new ways of moving. You know, it's the same in life, and it's non-linear. Yeah, it's definitely non-linear. Yeah.
We are reflections of our external worlds. We are reflections of the universe, right? Like we embody all of it, whether we admit it or are willing to see it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that.
We are.
So I think that this year, 2022 ECs, we're going to do some sort of workshop.
I would love that. Now that I know that you're in SoCal.
yeah. We'll just get together. We'll do like a movement and empathy workshop or something. That would be pretty cool. We should gab on that. But I cherish the work that you're doing, and I cherish you, and I'm grateful that we were able to do this, and we always transition out of the show by talking about our empathy heroes. So folks in our lives who are compassionate, empathetic, could be characters from stories we love even. So I will go first to give you a moment to think about yours, ECs. So I mentioned her before, Emily, my friend Emily Lynn Paulson, who interviewed me for my 1 year sober episode. As of this recording, it'll be this coming Monday. But as of, it'll be out. But yeah, if you haven't listened to that episode, go listen to it. But Emily is someone who just reached her 5-year sobriety, and just very proud of her. She does wonderful work in helping sober, curious people find community and space to reflect and to heal. And if that's not empathy, I don't know what is. So Emily Lynn Paulson, you can find her at Highlight Reel Recovery on Instagram. She is my empathy hero this week. Yay. How about you, ECs? Your empathy hero.
Truly the first person that comes to my mind is my partner, my husband. He, especially navigating these last 2.5 years with the new version of me, or that I'm becoming, he has given me so much a grace, and empathy, and just seen me at my worst and navigated with me through himself, even trying to be a new parent, and also being there for me as a new parent. So I'm truly grateful for having a very empathetic partner in my life and loving partner. So this goes out to you, Anthony Ray Perez.
Yes, Anthony. Good on you, Anthony. Yes, I mean, an empathetic partner is, we need it. It's essential. I mean, I don't know what I would do without Jessica, my partner.
Yeah.
So yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Thankful for partners who can see us and love us.
Indeed. And challenge us. Well, ECs, where can the Feely humans out there connect with you and learn more about you?
Yes, I am on Instagram. I'm coming back. I kind of took off some time to reflect, but you can find me on Instagram at Morena Moves. That's Morena Moves with an S. I'm pretty active there. That's pretty much where I hang out. So if y'all want to touch base with me there, I'd love to see you all, and you can also see me move through there. So
amazing. Yeah. Well, listeners, that will be linked in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. ECs, thank you for being here and for showing up with a big heart, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed our time talking.
Likewise, my friend. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring, pale blue dot. We have each other. It's you, me, empathy.